There is late word tonight from the Associated Press on the source of that terror threat that shut down more than a dozen embassies and consulates in Africa and the Middle East. The AP is now reporting the threat had its nexus in Yemen. The head of the Joint Chiefs says this terror threat isn't just about going after U.S. targets in other parts of the world. It's about extremists going after anything that represents the West.
No, I had a turkey wrap with avocado.
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs trying to keep things light after a working lunch with Secretary of State John Kerry, considering how grave the threat from al-Qaeda is believed to be. Security forces are on high alert at U.S. embassies and consulates in 19 cities across the Mideast and Africa, shut down until at least Saturday. The U.S. Embassy in Yemen is one of them, as investigators try to unravel a potential terror plot. Suspected al-Qaeda militants in Yemen have openly vowed to attack the United States. Last week, 3 U.S. drone strikes killed suspected al-Qaeda militants there.
I think what this latest threat highlights is that there are still threats out there and that we need appropriate tools to be able to track people that are trying to do us harm and to hopefully prevent these attacks before they happen.
Sources say intelligence agents recently intercepted the communications of senior al-Qaeda leaders. The chatter suggests a plot to attack Western targets is underway, and terrorists are ready to carry it out. But there are no specifics. That threat is from al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, the same group that tried to blow up a plane headed for the U.S. with an underwear bomb.
You've had the rise of the al-Qaeda affiliates, groups in Yemen, North Africa, East Africa. Those groups have taken up the strategic and operational mantle for al-Qaeda.
It was 15 years ago this week that al-Qaeda bombed 2 U.S. embassies in East Africa.
CBS 4's Brian Andrews takes us inside the Fed's case. And Brian, this is the first time I can remember 2 high-profile mayors going down in one day.
Well, Elliot, we have been going through the federal paperwork, and it reads like an Edna Buchanan or a Carl Hiaasen novel. For example, on Moronio, part of the criminal complaint says that he allegedly took an envelope full of $5,000 in cash that was left on a center console. And then as for the mayor of Miami Lakes, after he got $3,000 in an alleged payoff, he allegedly said, according to this transcript to the guy who handed him the cash, "Okay, you did good."
This betrayal of our public trust is intolerable.
The FBI created a fake company that would help cities like Sweetwater, Medley, and Miami Lakes get access to federal grant money. That company claimed to have an insider contact that would green-light the federal grants. The scheme involved Mayor Moronio, his right-hand man Jorge Luis Forte, and Mayor Michael Pizzi getting the needed city approvals for the fake company to go after the grants on behalf of the cities. But instead of the cities using the funds, the grant monies were to be divided up between the fake company's managers, the politicians, and the lobbyist who connected everyone, a man named Richard Candia. The feds say Mayor Moronio participated in a phone call with grant auditors to assess the effectiveness of the grant money that was paid out, where they say he lied about the grant money's use and later boasted about being able to pull it off.
You answer the questions knowing that you're lying, but you gotta be able to have charisma to pull it off. End of quote. Those were his words.
The feds allege the fake company gave Mayor Moronio, Forte, and Candia cash and other things of value. It's alleged Moronio took more than $40,000 worth. In one case, a bribe was called a souvenir. Candia kept more than $5 grand, they say.
Mayor Moronio, Forte, and Candia used Mayor Moronio's position as president of the Florida League of Cities in order to float the scheme to other public officials to see if they would bite.
But the feds say no one did. Some of those mayors were named in court today as possible government witnesses that Moronio should have no contact with while he's out on bond. And then there's Miami Lakes Mayor Michael Pizzi, connected to the scheme by Candia in a relationship the feds say started when Pizzi was Medley's city attorney.
Pizzi initially agreed to participate in the scheme in exchange for $750 in campaign contributions.
Pizzi moved on to Miami Lakes as mayor, where the feds say he was instrumental in greenlighting the fake company's ability to go after federal grant money for the city.
Mayor Pizzi received an additional $5,000 in cash in 2 separate payments.
Mike Pizzi has an attorney, a public official, and a man of integrity. Today begins his fight for vindication.
Miami-Dade County political insiders tell me that Maronio and Forte are pretty much joined at the political hip, that if anybody wants to get any kind of access to Governor Rick Scott, usually they would have to go through Mayor Maronio. Meantime, as for Forte, we're told that he used to be the chief of staff for Miami-Dade Commissioner Bobo. We've reached out to the commissioner's office for comment. So far, nothing. Reporting live from downtown at the federal courthouse, I'm Brian Andrews, CBS 4 News.